Good, man. How you doing?
Good, good. You guys from Canton, Michigan?
Yeah, we always say Detroit, but Tony and I are from Canton.
Sorry,
so.
man.
No, it's cool. It's funny because we're kind of all over the place. So like Tony and I grew up in Canton.
Okay.
But like Don's from Romulus and Gumby's from Flint. So it's just like
You guys from everywhere.
Yeah, we just say Detroit because
Right.
it's just like everyone knows where Detroit's at.
So what got you into music?
Basically, as a kid, I was always sort of intrigued, more like by music, but also by performance, and like Michael Jackson. Like I was like totally into Michael Jackson as a kid. Like I just remember like just always mimicking his moves and stuff like that, and just being totally into what not only musically but just as a performer. And so that got me into music. But then I was sort of discovering music as I got older. I started going through that phase where you don't really you listen to music as a young kid, but then like you're sort of interested in like movies and toys and all that other shit when you're a kid. So it's like so I sort of, as I got into like my teen phase, I was like, okay, sort of discovering music again. I was getting into like
going more heavier.
Yeah, a little more, and I was also more into like all, kind of what was popular too at the time, because I didn't. For me, it was sort of discovering whatever was on the radio and like on MTV and stuff like that. I was into popular, like alternative was like huge. So I was into Green Day and shit like that. That's what sort of got me, that opened that door. And then I was like into bands like Korn, Marilyn Manson kind of got me into like the darker stuff and heavier stuff. That's kind of like my gateway band.
Right. And
I was into Tool, Rage Against the Machine, and then all of a sudden I'm like hearing bands like Pantera and Slayer and Metallica, and I'm like,
holy shit,
this is fucking badass, And then I'm, I got into like Slipknot too a little bit, and that, and then as like right actually in my college years, I was going to I started going to more local shows, and I was discovering more extreme bands and stuff like that. And so there were bands in our local scene that were playing like really heavy music. There was a band called Summer Dying that was very melodic, death metal sort of stuff, and I hadn't seen that before. There was a band called Gut Rot that was like brutal, guttural death metal shit. So I'm just like opening my ears to all this whole new world of stuff.
Are those bands still around?
Summer Dying isn't. Gut Rot is actually still around, and they're still like one of my favorite death metal bands from Michigan, but they're killer.
So obviously, you guys formed in 2003.
2003, yep. Yeah. So around that time, we were influenced by those bands, which sort of pushed us to start doing our own thing and that sort of thing. And Tony and I started the band, and we started as a 4-piece. And then 2007, we sort of wanted to step up ourselves musically and sort of also get a frontman. So because at the time it was Tony doing vocals and an old bass player doing vocals. So that's kind of what 2007 is when this sound of Battlecross started, because Breaking You and Leech and Rupture were sort of the first 3 songs we wrote in that time period. So that was sort of the birth of this Battlecross. So
right. Obviously, you guys have a new album.
Yes, sir.
Rise to Power.
Yep.
Through Metal Blade Records.
Yeah.
Can you give us sort of a brief the writing process behind that? Who was involved and how long it took? And,
sure.
Yeah.
So Rise to Power is our 3rd album, and the writing process was very organic this time around. I felt like a lot of that pressure and sort of being green to being in a touring band and being a recording artist was like we've sort of been in the studio at least 2 times prior to that. So it was just like we gained this experience from touring and being out there. So
right.
From that we just sort of, I felt like we kind of had more confidence in what we wrote. So it was just like being comfortable with ourselves and how we wrote the music, and we all sort of took a part in that.
Oh, very nice.
And everybody sort of, we've always been that sort of type of band that's kind of gotten together and write, and we throw ideas at each other, and so.
Yeah, no worries.
We've always been that type of band that just like, I'll have an idea and I send it to somebody else, and then it's like Tony has an idea, Don has an idea. It's nice because it's like 3 guitar players sort of writing, and then everybody throws in their input. But this time around, it basically took, the writing process is roughly 2 months, and it was sort of broken up because like we were supposed to do the Machine Head tour in fall, and that fell apart.
Exactly. Yeah.
And so then we all of a sudden had all this time to write from September through like middle of November, and then we did Winter Warriors tour where we headlined and took out Wretched and War of Ages, and we went out and did that tour, and then right after that tour we went into Audio Hammer Studios and we worked with Jason Sukoff and Mark Lewis.
Okay.
And the recording process took about month and a half, almost 2 months.
And anything that you would want to change, like all said and done, you guys are pretty happy with
honestly
the end results?
Honestly, no. I feel like this time around, like I'm just really proud of like what we did. Like I feel like we really captured what we want. I think personally for me, maybe the only thing is maybe having a little more prep time to sort of go over a certain song, because we went in with demo ideas which we were happy with, but I felt like we didn't really get to sort of I guess my only regret is not being able to jam as a full band and work on the songs. So we didn't get to do that. Our drummer was in California, so we're writing and sending him ideas. We only got like a week to jam together, so we really didn't sort of like get to hash out parts together. But overall, though, like I think the process of going into the studio, working with Jason and Mark, they really sort of helped shape the songs as they are. So it was just an awesome process, dude. It was great.
So like anybody who does a sort of a Google search on you guys and they see Wikipedia and they type in Battlecross and they have you guys under blue collar thrash metal. What is blue collar thrash metal?
It's funny because that term sort of came out of nowhere. It was a friend of ours that was like, we were trying to think of a unique way to sort of describe our sound, and he sort of came up with that because really the blue collar is sort of the attitude that Michigan represents, and that what we sort of, our attitude with how we are as a band and our attitude in the lyrics and just our basically Detroit hustle. It's what we call it,
because it's
city. It's like everyone's out there, and it's like we just bust ass and work hard to get where we're at, and no one's looking for handouts. We just want to fucking make a name for ourselves and go out there and hit hard, and that's the thing is we've never expected anything to be given to us. We just know we got to work for it and make it happen. Awesome. And I think that's sort of the Detroit attitude that whether it comes in. But overall, I consider us a metal band, and we just try to put all our influences together. We all have a variety of influences that we have in metal. And we just sort of try to put that together and take the best elements of what we like and make a song out of it.
Absolutely. So right now, obviously, you guys are on tour with Gore. It's the 30th anniversary. So obviously these guys, being on tour with them, they got a big stage production, they're in their costumes, they're from a different planet. How do you guys, how can you guys get new fans? How can you guys sort of like try to blow them off the stage? Like, what are you guys trying to do to say?
I wouldn't say that's possible, but we're thankful that number one, they have this core audience that are metal fans, punk fans. It's like I think their fans also come from a variety background of like what they like, and I think Gwar also has always incorporated different elements. They're very much metal, but I think they've always sort of had different styles to their songs that they've done. So I think they bring a whole new audience for us, and I think we also bring an audience that hasn't seen Gwar yet too. So it's sort of like a complementing sort of lineup, and especially with Cryptopsy doing the Canada dates.
Yeah, Born of Osiris
is only in the States.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I think both those bands bring their own audience too. So it's like this mixture of like metal and death metal and what Gwar is doing, and it's like, I think you get people that have never heard of us. First and foremost, especially we're getting new fans every day from this, and I think there's also Battlecross fans that have come to see us that have like, I've never seen Gwar before, and this has been my first time. So it's cool that we're sort of balancing that out. But even though I think Gwar is definitely bringing more new fans for us, definitely. So it's great, man. I think the reception's really well, and I think we're doing pretty well on these shows.
So obviously, you guys have been around for a while. I mean, since 2003. So what do you think has been the biggest learning curve, like being on the road and just being a band?
Yeah. Well,
we're 2015, so.
Right, yeah. 2003, it was like the 2003 to like 2010, it was just us being a local band in Michigan, sort of trying to learn and go through. We were going through lineup changes even in that period, and then 2011 happens, and we're signed to Metal Blade and we start touring.
That's right.
So there was 2011 is really when we're still, to me, in a sense, we're only a 4-year touring band.
I see.
But even within that time span, we've learned so much. You learn from the other bands you tour with, the crew that you tour with, and I think the number one thing that we've learned is to be professional and be easy to work with. And I think that when you sort of put that air about you, be professional, you put a good vibe out for the tour, because the last thing you want to do is step on toes. You don't want to sort of come off as unprofessional, because no one's going to work with you.
Yeah, no one's going to bring you out.
Exactly, and because of I think our professional attitude, we've definitely gained respect, among the bands that we've toured with.
Absolutely.
And it's always mutual, we respect them, and we're thankful that we're given this opportunity to go out there, and we're going to prove to them that we're the right choice, when they take us out. It's and we do what we can to help out the other bands, and we're very, like I said, we're just very much sort of a professional, we're here to work, in a sense. Yes, it is fun, and performing is what we love to do, but at the same time, it's this is our career. We take it seriously and we take it professionally, So I think just from the years of doing that, we've just learned, number one, the ins and outs of touring and what you shouldn't do and should do, and you just gain experience every time. And I think we've just gotten tighter as a band and more efficient each time,
Awesome. All right, I'm gonna let you go. I appreciate the interview.
Yeah, thank you, man.
Have an awesome tour. We'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, man. Cheers.
Cheers.